Hey everybody, this is Richard of RichardThinks.org. Today we are at the Fillmore Silver Spring in Silver Spring, Maryland. I have with me the one and only David Draiman of Disturbing Device. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining me.
Wonderful, brother.
Well, you're on support right now, touring with Korn and doing several radio fests. How's that been like for you, kind of starting over with the new band and, revisiting some of these places, and playing on smaller stages?
Humbling. Absolutely humbling, but very, very invigorating. Getting to be closer to the fans, having to earn it again, and win them over all over again, and the challenge of it kind of brings the beast out of you a little bit live. It really has been these performances. We've all been like men possessed, in every sense of the word.
Possessed. So, on this tour, you've at several radio fests, you've had on-stage collaborations. Now, how does that feel, be able to bring all these singers out, like Lizzie Hale? You've had to be able to bring her out, and how's that be able to feel, bring that tracks to life?
Amazing, man. That's a dream. I hope at some point during this touring cycle I can get everybody that's guested on the record to perform the songs with me live, if the situation presents itself. It's kind of a logistical nightmare, because everybody's in their own things and doing their own, in their own locations and different points of the globe, and so it's not always so simple, and they've all got their own schedules and agendas, so it's not always an easy thing to execute, but wherever and whenever possible, I like to do that. And truth be told is that, the whole Device project is really about brotherhood and sisterhood within the genre, and being able to incorporate even more and more people along the course of the cycle. So that's why, for instance, at Rock on the Range, we had Maria Brink from In This Moment come and do Close My Eyes Forever with me, which I asked permission from Lizzie for ahead of time, because I respect her so tremendously, and I would not have done it without her go-ahead. And I've had Elias from Nonpoint come and do Out of Line, the track that Serge sings on while they were on tour with us. I had Aaron from Gemini Syndrome come and do Part of Me, which didn't even have a guest vocalist on the record. And I intend to do more and more of that along the course of this cycle. I love the interaction. I love getting additional artists up there. I love performing and working with other artists. I think not only does it show the cohesive bond amongst the genre, but it's just better for the fans. It always gives them something different, something fresh, something new, something a little bit more exciting, always something unexpected. So I love it. The more I can make it happen, the better.
That's great with, bringing, more, like you said, it's more memorable. And, I've also seen that, you've taken more to, Twitter now, you're more social. How do you feel that, social networks that are important in connecting with fans?
I think that's incredibly important. When I started my particular Twitter page, which was not this past July, but the July before, when I did it, I made a commitment that I wasn't going to treat it like I've seen a lot of other quote-unquote celebrities treat it. I'm not going to detail my, trips to the bathroom or some, nonsense, or take a picture of my food and put it up there, or, with all due respect to those that do that, I try to treat it a little bit more responsibly. I try to be a source of consolation and advice and reason and a little bit of light and energy and hope, and let people know what's going on inside my head, the things that are important to me, the topics that I'm passionate about, and what I believe in, and to try and be just somebody they can talk to about the challenges that they're facing in their lives, and hopefully give them a little bit of encouragement and understanding and the power to overcome.
I believe if I remember correctly, this is actually your wife during the Bill Video show. Mm-hmm. Now, how did you know?
Actually, there were two separate shoots.
Oh, two separate shoots.
Yeah, there was the cover shoot, which was done in New York City, which was based on the concept of the video, and then there was the video shoot itself, which took from this concept and elaborated on it.
How long? I don't remember. It's particularly saying how long it took for that whole thing to come together. How long did it take?
6 hours, something like that. Yeah, she asked for it. I didn't want her to do it, to be perfectly honest. Not only was I relatively uncomfortable having my wife prance around naked in front of a whole bunch of strangers, but I knew that it was going to be a long and grueling process, and Lena is used to high fashion stuff, and like fitness modeling and WWE, and it's like, you get in the chair and you're in there for like a half hour or 45 minutes and you're good. Well, this was 6 hours, and it wasn't trying to make her brutal. It wasn't trying to make her beautiful. It was trying to make her look scary and a little menacing. So it was something that she wasn't used to. It took its toll on her. I don't think that she's going to be looking to do it again anytime soon, but she killed it. I'm very, very proud of what she did, and it's amazing the imagery we got. I didn't really have to give her much direction of any kind. She really took to it. She kind of enjoyed being the monster for once, I think. So it was really a cool experience.
How does the concept of this particular imagery correlate with the album?
The idea behind it was actually Paul Brown's concept, but the way that we ended up molding it to the actual concept of the record and what's going on lyrically, and the theme of the band Device, so to speak, is that, Device, what does it imply? It implies the utilization of technology. And so that we are immersed and, in fact, imprisoned in a world of technology. We're surrounded by it at all times, at all sides, and we're slaves to it, of a sort. So this blackness that you see, this entity that exists on the record, almost like, if you ever read like the Spider-Man comics and you looked at Venom and how he was created. So it's this entity that kind of is enveloping the individual, that they're trapped by the blackness of this sea of technology that we're surrounded by. And this is one pure entity, something pure finally coming from this sea of technology that we're struggling to stay afloat in and tread water in. And so that was the idea, is that this android is a pure entity coming out of the blackness.
And that's ironic because, most days nobody can say that they go a day without touching any form of technology.
I certainly can't. I'm a slave to it as much as anybody else, that's for sure.
And that's so, that concept is just really unique in itself. But out of all the songs on here, my favorite particular is Through It All. Now, is there?
Oh, that's great.
I just love how it brings the album to a close. It's that's.
I wrote that for Lena.
So, was there any any particular? Well, you said that you wrote that about your wife.
Mm-hmm.
So, was any particular stories during recording it that you maybe was kind of
during recording it? Probably the most poignant story was when I got to convince Glenn Hughes to be a part of it on the record, and I had the tremendous honor that I will never forget in my life of actually being able to produce him, to track him, which was, that's definitely going down in my memoirs. I mean, I got to track Glenn Hughes. I mean, the voice of rock himself. So, very amazing experience. His vocal abilities are godlike. He must have a 6-octave range. I mean, he's, to me, him and Ronnie James Dio are probably two of the greatest rock voices that ever lived. And his just precision, his emotion that is inherent in every single note that he delivers is intimidating and crushing. So I was humbled beyond words and overwhelmed to have him on it, and I'm overwhelmed and beyond words to be able to call him my friend, and the whole thing was just a really, really amazing experience. It was the beauty of the track in and of itself that kind of sealed the deal for him. I mean, he said yes without even hearing it, but once he heard it, I got those texts, and it was just an amazing thing to, Glenn Hughes is texting me back and forth about how much he loves the song I wrote, like, just little mild fanboy moment there, and just like, just very surreal, very wonderful.
Now, I feel like that, his contribution to the song just really helped deliver it. And you got like a whole all-star lineup. I mean, is there anybody else that in the world that you'd like to have perform with you on the song?
I've got a huge wish list. I mean, I'd love to have Corey Taylor on a track. I'd love to have Jonathan Davis on a track. I'd love to have Trent Reznor. I'd love to have James Hetfield. I'd love to have Bruce Dickinson.
Goes on.
You know, I mean, I could keep going. I would have loved to have had, and I still would love to have Rob Halford on a track, but apparently Five Finger beat me to the punch there. So, you know, you know, I love what they did with that track too. By the way, I think it's a smoking track. But you know, I think that collaborations of this nature, or at least having guest appearances on records, again, further goes to, you know, it goes to further the cause. It shows unity, it shows strength, it shows brotherhood and sisterhood amongst the genres, you know, of hard rock and heavy metal, and I think it's important for us to unify.
That reminds me of, like, you posted a blog, you know, stating, you know, basically what you just said.
After Jeff Hanneman's
death.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you feel that, you know, there's new bands coming out nowadays that don't know quite the ropes yet about what you just said? Like, what would be your, like, number one advice for them to kind of take a page out of your book for advice?
Well, I've definitely made my mistakes in the past, and I've definitely had my moments of being, you know, a brat, and I've learned from them. I think that it's important for all of us to treat everyone with dignity and respect. It's important for each and every one of us to carry ourselves with honor. And when you dishonor when you dishonor the brand, when you dishonor the cause, you know, you're hurting everyone. You're not just hurting yourself. And so, like I said in the piece, and like I wrote, there's no room for petty rivalries. There's no room for competition that isn't healthy competition. You know, don't get me wrong. Whenever anybody plays a bill at a festival, we always feel like we have to give it our A game because everybody's throwing down. That's a healthy competitive element. The unhealthy competitive element was when you're pissed off at the next band or another band because they're more successful than you, or they had a better reaction than you, or whatever the case may be. Use it. Use that energy and help yourself and forge yourself. Let the fire of that forge you. Let the heat of that forge you. And let it drive you and inspire you to take yourself to greater heights. You should always be focused on strengthening yourself, not weakening others. You know, I think that's the most important element to convey. And that let others inspire you, not allow you to feel defeated. Because you can always aspire to higher heights. And look at the other bands that you surround yourself with and that you tour with and that share the genre with you, and be inspired. And become stronger. Don't sling arrows. It doesn't do anyone any good. You know, carry yourself with honor. Take the higher road. Treat the people that are fighting the same war with you with respect and dignity and admiration, and we stand a chance. If there's petty bickering and childishness, we will consume ourselves, and it'll be self-defeatist.
That was probably the most inspiring thing I've ever heard. Like, it's true. Like, you know, I've seen on social networks, on bands, you know, they always either take shots at each other in press or just over social networks.
There's no point. I mean, look at Metallica. Give you a perfect example. You know, have they ever, no matter who's cast a single arrow at them, and there are many who have, undeservedly so. You know, every band has their stylistic fluctuations. Every band, you know, for instance, Neil Young said, you know, every band in their career will have their peaks and valleys, and we've all had them. That doesn't make me stop being a fan. That doesn't make me, you know, question where they went. It's up to them as artists. And you may like one record more than the next, and you're entitled to as a fan, but that doesn't diminish the band, and that doesn't diminish what they've achieved. And no matter what's been launched at them, no matter what attack they've had to sustain, they've never fired back, because they're bigger than that. And because, as I've said before, you know, the lion does not care about the affairs of the sheep. The lion's the lion. And you know, they're king of the damn jungle, and they know it. And so they don't need to worry about the rest of that. And if you carry yourself in that way, and if you walk in that with that level of dignity and honor, the rest of that just falls off. And that's what everyone should do. And truth be told, there shouldn't be even a need to have that armor. It shouldn't be necessary. This is not high school. And, for people to act like children who are grown men and grown women, and for the petty bickering and jealousy to exist when you should really be worrying about strengthening yourself and not taking others down, it's a sign of your own weakness. You're showing your own slip, and you end up looking the fool. Plain and simple.
Schooling 101 by David Draiman right here. Perfect words. Now, you got to produce Trivium's latest album, and you've also worked with Megadeth as a whole on a few tracks. Now, how has that experience all been like?
Amazing. I can't say enough about it. I mean, Dave was actually who I worked with directly on the Megadeth record, so you were kind of accurate in what you were saying. The rest of the guys were not there when we were working together, but it was incredible. He's a visionary musician. He's incredibly talented. I always try to learn everything I can from my peers, and there's certainly a lot to be learned from him. He's brilliant. And it was an incredible experience working with him. He was easy to work with, people say what they want about the guy. I know that he's a powerful personality. I know that he has very strong opinions on things, and that's something that him and I have in common. We both have very strong opinions on things, and we're both very passionate, and I'll tell you right now that there's many things that we both admittedly know that we disagree vehemently on, and that's okay. We are friends. We agree on our friendship. We agree on our camaraderie. We agree on, the level of musicianship that we both try to wield. He doesn't just try; he does it. And I am beyond humbled and grateful and overwhelmed with gratitude that I was allowed to enter that world and to help him in any way I could. Regarding Trivium, that's a whole nother story. Those
a short story.
This record that we made is going to change their lives in every sense of the world. It's going to change the face of metal, and that is no exaggeration on any level. I'm so ridiculously proud of them and what they've achieved. It is the next level. It's Trivium times 10. It is Matt as you've never heard him before, more powerful than you've ever heard him before. The band embracing polyrhythm and syncopation more than you've ever heard them before. Progressive nature and the development of the riffs across every single song. The embracing of true groove, as opposed to just as much double kick as possible all over the place. It's used wisely, scientifically, with enough of a bounce to it, so that, kind of embracing the Pantera school of groove metal. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you took the complexity and intricacy of Master of Puppets and fused it with the more melodic and commercial nature and the strength of hook that exists on the Black Album, that is the new Trivium record. This is the record that the metal world has been waiting for a very long time, and they are about to knock the metal world on its ass. And that is no exaggeration of any kind. I know that Colin Richardson has been blown away while mixing these songs. He's done a bunch of work for those guys. He himself will tell you this is their best work to date. Everyone who's heard the stuff that is part of the inner circle is blown away by it. This is next level shit.
There you go, prelude to the storm that's coming. Now, is there anything else that people would like to know about you, Device, or anything else?
I think we've covered a pretty good amount of material and information. I think that there's definitely enough saturation out there that if they haven't heard it by now, I'm not going to beat them over the head with it any further. One thing I can tell them is that as far as a live entity is concerned, we're coming into our own. We are, like I said, like men possessed up there. Power trio from hell. And If you haven't seen the show, you should come see it, because it is unlike anything you've ever seen. The intensity of the interaction and the power that's exuded for a record that has limited exposure is shocking. It really is amazing what we've been able to do, and you know, I have two of the best guys in the business backing me up on this thing, and they are just killing it. You know, Virus and Will both are. I'm incredibly proud of how they've been playing and what they've been doing, and they've been giving me everything I need to project that energy like a laser out onto the audience, and it's been definitely having some pretty dramatic effects. So, you know, I encourage people to come out and see what this is all about live.
That's very nicely put. Thank you very much, David, for your time.
My pleasure.
David Draiman of Device and Disturbed, RichOverRichThings.org. Self-titled is out now, and we'll see you later.